Meeting of the Missoula Board of County Commissioners on this Thursday, November 2nd. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. We have two public announcements today. The one which we hear frequently is going to be delivered again for all of you out there in the listening world. Cheryl, talk to us about closed captioning.
Okay. Hello, everyone. If you are joining us for this meeting virtually today, instructions for turning on closed captioning are on your screen. If you're joining us in person, we will have closed captioning on all the screens here in the Sophie Louise room. And we ask that all speakers today remember to speak slowly and clearly during the meeting. This will help with the accuracy of the closed captioning. There will be multiple chances during the meeting for public comment virtually. During those times, if you would like to speak, we ask that you use the raise hand feature. If you are in Microsoft Teams, this is the small hand button. If you are calling in on the phone, you will need to hit *5 to raise your hand. Then once called on, you will need to hit *6 to unmute. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know out there, I'm Dave Strohmeyer. I'm joined by Commissioner Juanita Vero. Commissioner Josh Slotnick is not able to make it with us today. And Commissioner Vero, would you be so kind as to proclaim for us?
Gladly. Whereas Missoula County and the city of Missoula are located in the heart of the homelands of the Salish and Kalispel, or Salish and Kalispel, Upper Kalispel or Pend Oreille people. And this is also a place known and used by other indigenous nations, past and present. And whereas for many thousands of years, the Salish and Kalispel have lived in a relationship of respect and the lands and waters and the plants and animals of this place, ensuring that future generations inherit a clean and bountiful home. And whereas the wisdom, understanding, and countless cultural contributions passed down to us by Salish and Kalispel and other indigenous elders continues to enrich our lives and offer us a path to a better future. And whereas from the arrival of Lewis and Clark to the, and from the arrival of the Lewis and Clark expedition to the Salish inviting Jesuit missionaries to join their community, to the sacrifices of countless veterans of the Salish, of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes in service to their nation, to our nation, to the many efforts of the CSKT today in working with Missoula County and the city of Missoula, the tribes have sought relations of mutual respect with non-Indigenous people. And whereas in October 1891, the United States forced the Salish people to leave their Bitterroot homeland and move to the Flathead Reservation, marching them through Missoula, or through the Missoula area on what became known as Montana's Trail of Tears. And whereas in 1904, Montana's congressional representative secured passage of the Flathead Allotment Act, which in violation of the Hellgate Treaty of 1855, forced individual land ownership upon CSKT people and then opened remaining lands on the Flathead Reservation to homesteading and non-Indian ownership. Whereas we acknowledge that the historical injustices directed toward Indigenous people are rooted and have further entrenched systemic and institutional racism and intergenerational trauma. And whereas November was first designated as National American Indian Heritage Month in 1990 by Congress and President George H.W. Bush, and it has subsequently been proclaimed every November by every succeeding president and was renamed National Native American Heritage Month by Congress and President Barack Obama in 2009. Whereas in the words of President Biden, Native American roots are deeply embedded in this land, a homeland loved, nurtured, strengthened, and fought for with honor and conviction. Missoula County and the city of Missoula are committed to honoring our relationships with sovereign Indigenous nations and peoples and to uphold our treaty obligations. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, Missoula County and the city of Missoula, do hereby proclaim November as Native American Heritage Month, and we pledge to honor and respect the rich cultures and histories of the Salish, Kalispel, and all the Indigenous peoples of our community to strive to learn and educate ourselves and others about those cultures and histories and to cherish the many Indigenous friends, neighbors, and members of our community. Dated this day, 2nd day of November, 2003.
Thank you for that. And for folks out there, if you have not already had a chance to visit this spot, take a look at the interpretive panels on the south side of Bear Tracks Bridge. They've been newly reinstalled, and some modifications have been made to that particular site. So check it out. There's 6 panels there that talk about the history of indigenous culture in this area and also the history of Bear Tracks Bridge and why it is named as such. Is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Seeing none, our current claims list, and this would be claims received as of October 19th through October 23rd, 2023 by the Commissioner's Office, total, is this right? Only $198,722.03. That is exceptionally low. Holy smokes. Okay, that is some fiscal constraint. So we have 2 hearings today. The first is the McGuire family transfer, and then there's the Running W Ranch covenant amendment. We'll begin with Zach and the McGuire family transfer.
Okay, I'm bringing it up here. So I may have a technological issue here. I think I may have sent myself the wrong copy of the family transfer, and I might have to go track down the correct one.
How about we flip-flop the 2 items while you are rustling up what
just
we
that.
need? And provided that we are ready to go with Running W, Tim, are you able to jump in here and? Okay.
Laura Collins, Planner 1 with Missoula County Planning, Development, and Sustainability. I'll actually be presenting the Running W item.
Okay, it's all yours. And you're going to have to swallow that mic a little bit too.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yes,
Sound good.
that's
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Just share my screen here. Okay, Running W Ranch with pending name change to Missoula Meadowlands for unfiled phases. This is a covenant amendments request. This is actually a resubmittal of a request that was presented to you in September of last year and was approved. The applicant missed the filing deadline for the approval documents, and so we are asking you to reconsider the request. The owner is Track 2 COS 6492 LLC with technical representation from WGM Group. So Running W Ranch was a 318 lot 11 phase subdivision originally approved in August of 2005. Phases 1 and 2 were filed in 2008 and phase 2A was filed in 2021. Phases 3 to 11 remain unfiled. The subdivision was originally approved with a planned variation overlay to the base CRR3 zoning district. Phases 3 through 11 were rezoned during the Missoula County zoning update project. This is the current zoning. So the phases 3 to 11 have neighborhood residential, commercial, and industrial center light. The covenant amendment request is to amend Section 7 of the Running W Ranch covenants to allow varying housing types and to increase density. Section 7 of the covenants currently limits lots designated as residential to single-family residential dwellings with a limited exception for attached accessory dwelling units. But the county zoning update would allow for increased density and varying housing types. One of the subdivision conditions of approval calls out Section 7 to be amendable only by governing body approval, and that's why we're bringing this to you today. Based on our review criteria, we find this supportable in line with the county zoning.
Wait, so Lauren, I'm sorry. We have to approve the even though it's law? Or am I?
So the condition of approval of the subdivision called out Section 7, which includes the provision about single-family residential dwelling types, as a section that can only be amended by governing body approval
So it's section 7 of the covenants,
of the subdivision approval. Yes.
right? Which is different than zone. So this would be bringing the
Thanks, sorry,
covenants in
sorry.
line with what it's zoned.
Mhm.
Okay.
The new zoning would allow for multiple housing types and increased density, so this would bring it in line with the new zoning.
So when I didn't recognize that we actually had to decide to bring it in compliance. Like,
It is just because of that condition of approval that calls that section out, but yeah.
right.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. Is that it?
I think my laptop is freezing. One moment. So agency comment was requested. We received no comments. A legal notice was published in the October 19th Missoulian. There were also no public comments. Apologies, there seems to be a lag. So these are the review criteria that we use to analyze amendments requests. Here are a few of the major findings of these review criteria. The request is deemed minor in nature. Changes only affect the unfiled phases of the subdivision. It will align with the current zoning and the surrounding neighborhood and overall community type. The proposal complies with Missoula County zoning regulations, and the varied housing types that it would allow is consistent with the growth policy goals. The changes are not deemed incremental. They'll apply to all unfiled phases of Running W. Staff recommendation is to approve the covenant amendment request based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to recommended conditions of approval. We have 3 recommended conditions of approval. The language shall be reviewed and approved by PDS prior to recording. It'll contain boulevard planning and landscaping requirements stipulated in the original Running W Ranch subdivision covenants of approval, conditions of approval, excuse me. And the section shall be subject to review and approval by the planning office prior to recording. And any recorded documents that are modified by this adjustment shall be revised and then filed with the clerk and recorder's office within 60 calendar days of governing body approval.
Is PDS.
Planning, development, and sustainability.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I believe that is it. I'm here for questions, and I believe Jamie Erbacher is online as well.
Right. Thank you very much. Would the applicant or applicant's representative, namely Jamie, like to say anything?
Sure, thank you. So we did actually bring this exact set of covenants to you last year, and unfortunately, our client's attorney was going to record them and missed the recording date. So according to the subdivision regulations, because we didn't have them originally recorded within the 60 calendar days, we did have to bring it back to you for another approval. And Juanita, to maybe explain your question or answer your question a little bit more about why you're having to approved this section of the covenants. When Running W was first adopted as a subdivision, it was also adopted as a plan variation, and that plan variation had limited the uses within that plan variation, excuse me, and the base zone had limited the uses to single family. And so at that time, that is all we could do within the subdivision. But with the zoning code update, we can now do additional building types beyond single family. And so this change to the covenants will allow that to happen within the unfiled phases of the subdivision.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you bet.
And Jamie, is your client's attorney waiting in the hall for us to file these documents?
They better
once,
be.
they're approved? Okay.
Yes, it will happen this time.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
No, Lauren, do you have the correct language of the motion by chance? Because I
And-
think it's a little different than the RCA.
And any public comment on this proposal? Anyone out there? The room is virtually empty here in Sophie Moise. Anyone online like to comment on this? Okay. Oh, John Hart.
I don't have any public comment, but I just want to take the opportunity because I had 2 Missoula County employees come to me today and say, "Hey, John, don't you always tell us that Missoula County doesn't have anything to do with private covenants that restrict, a subdivision's use of property neighbor to neighbor?" And I say, yes. That's always what I say, and that's what I want you to remember. And 999 times out of 1,000, Missoula County cannot do anything to help one neighbor to enforce covenants against another neighbor. But this is one of the very rare exceptions where the approval of the subdivision itself required this single family restriction to be in the covenants, and it couldn't be modified without governing body approval. We see that very, very rarely, and this is one of the instances we see it. But as to the vast majority of the other covenants in this subdivision, Missoula County doesn't have any ability to change them or enforce them or help one neighbor enforce them against the other. So I just wanted to make it clear that this is an exceptional request.
Okay, so everyone, you just heard this from Deputy County Attorney John Hart. This is a historical moment that we are experiencing here. So remember this.
Oh, with that, I move to approve the Running W Ranch Covenants Amendment request based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
I think we're good. I'll second that. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, it's done. And the documents will soon be delivered for recording, I am sure. So, okay. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready, Zach, for the long-awaited McGuire family transfer?
We are ready. The
Okay.
Issues.
You have to run to back to the office.
Yeah, I just ran back to the office. Luckily, I had my bike at the
Okay.
office, so I biked back over here. Saved a couple minutes, probably. Okay, so this is the McGuire family transfer. It is located at 12088 O'Keefe Creek Boulevard. The claimant is Lisa McGuire, and she's represented by Eli and Associates. And I am Zach Jones with Planning, Development, and Sustainability. So just showing the location of the subject property. I have a arrow pointing to it, and then it's highlighted in this green and black dash line here. It is on O'Keefe Creek Boulevard, and it's actually also right next to Highway 93, which is this red line here. And just north of the Y is the area where this is located. So the highway interchange itself would be a little bit to the south off the map here. And this is showing the existing conditions on the property. This is from the application. And currently the property is about 4.75 acres, which is actually including some of the public road easement on the west side of the property on O'Keefe Creek Boulevard. And like I said before, to the east is US Highway 93. And there's actually a permitted approach, which will be used in the future for new construction. At least that is the applicant's plan, which you can see on the east here, going off of Highway 93. So the proposal is to divide the 4.75 acre tract into two, therefore creating and transferring one new 2.44 acre tract to the McGuire's adult child, Cody Bierley. And the remaining 2.31 acre tract will continue to be owned by Lisa McGuire. And currently there's one single family residence located on the property. And this is showing the proposed conditions from the application. So like I was saying before, there's going to be two parcels, pretty similarly sized, and that existing permitted approach will access the newly created parcel. And O'Keefe Creek also runs through the property, which is about right there. So getting into the general evasion criteria and rebuttable presumptions that we review for family transfers. The couple that were relevant, I'll go over here. So one is that a transfer of a tract of land by one family member to another by a quitclaim deed is followed by an attempted use of this exemption on the same tract. So this first point is kind of related to a different evasion criteria as well. But the previous owners of the parent tract actually created this tract by using the family transfer in 1979, but the applicants were not involved with that. And then earlier this year in August, Harry and Lisa McGuire executed a quitclaim deed to just Lisa McGuire. And like I said before, another criteria is the proposed division is on a tract that was previously created through use of a family transfer exemption or any of the other exemptions, or has received preliminary plat approval, which, like I said, the tract was created by family transfer in 1979 by the previous owners. And another criteria is the claimant in the business of constructing or dividing, developing, or selling land? So Cody Bierley, who will be receiving the newly created tract, is, I believe, currently a real estate agent at Living CDS Realty Group, which is out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That's the name of the realty group, Living CDS Realty Group. Yeah, so like I think it's yeah, I think it stands for like Living Coeur d'Alene, or I don't know what CDS is, but it's all right. So now I need to ask the applicants some questions for the record. Are they joining us remotely today?
Yeah.
Is the applicant on the line?
This is Mariah Sale with Eli and Associates, and Lisa McGuire is right next. Hello.
Hi, excellent. Thank you for joining us. So to the applicant, could you please state your name for the record?
Lisa McGuire.
Thank you. And first question, did you buy the property with the intent of dividing it?
No.
Thank you. Do you or your transferees intend to transfer the property within the next year? Cut out for some reason.
Do you still hear us out there?
Yep.
Okay, we didn't hear your answer to that question.
My answer was no to number 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Third question, have you talked to anyone at the county about going through subdivision review?
No.
Thank you. And because the recipient is not a minor, I'll also ask, will the properties be developed?
No.
And will the recipients of the properties be residing on the property?
The last one is yes.
Yes, Cody Bierley will be residing on the property.
Cody Byerly, and yes,
Yeah.
he will be residing on property.
Sorry if I've been saying that name wrong.
When you ask me will properties be developed, you mean just by him? Is that number 4?
Yeah, the newly created property,
Well,
like will anything be built there?
He's gonna build on it, yes, and resign.
Okay, yeah, great, thank you. So with that, Planning, Development, and Sustainability is recommending approval of the family transfer. And I have the recommended motion on the screen, and I'm available for questions, and I think the representative would be as well.
All right, thank you. Lisa or your representative, is there anything else that you would like to add?
We don't have anything to add, but thank you, Zach, for your review, and thank you, commissioners, for your time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Juanita?
Nope. I moved
And,
to.
oh, hang on.
So sorry.
That's all right. This is a public hearing, so is there any public comment on this proposed family transfer? Seeing none, we are ready for that motion.
Okay. I move to approve the request by Lisa McGuire to utilize a family transfer exemption to create and transfer one parcel as presented in the subdivision exemption affidavit.
Second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. And believe it or not, that is all the business that we have today, unless there's anything else anyone wants to bring forward. Seeing none, we will be adjourned. Thank you.
Thursday.